What's going on? You're watching NFL Daily. Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports. And quarterbacks are always the biggest talk around the 2023 NFL Draft. So I figured I'm going to look into my crystal ball. I'm going to give you an educated guess on where Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, and Anthony Richardson are going to be playing football in 2023. On top of that, I'm going to tell you which teams are the most likely to draft them and then tell you where they will be playing. Before I get into this list here, I got to know, because there's always controversy around the QB position. Who's the best one in the draft? If you believe it's the Alabama guy, Bryce Young, give me a BY. If you think it's Anthony Richardson, type AR down in the comments. If you think it's CJ Stroud, type CJ. Or do you think it's Will Levis, type WL. Bryce Young, the quarterback out of Alabama. He won the Heisman Trophy Award back in 2021 and is coming off a little bit of a down year. And I don't really think it's all on Young. I think for the first time in, man, it feels like 10 years, the Alabama Crimson Tide did not have an absolutely stacked roster at the wide receiver position. When you talk to a lot of NFL scouts out there, realistically, the only thing that they're going to knock this kid on is his size. Is he undersized? No doubt about it. But Lance Zierlein of NFL.com has comped him to Drew Brees, another quarterback that, sure, was undersized, but mentally, and the thing that I love about Young is his mental preparation to the game. When you look at a lot of quarterbacks, you can look at the big arm, you can look at the athletic ability, but I do think that there is something about a QB being able to lead a group of men down the field when it matters the most, being able to be in that huddle, and every single guy, all 10 eyes are on you, and they know that there is a common goal. Bryce Young gives me that. I'm not going to say it because I don't know if he's going to be Joe Burrow, but he gives me that like Joe Burrow cool. He gives me that Tom Brady cool, calm, and collectiveness where nothing rattles this dude. And the only thing that people are going to hit him on is the size. 6 foot, that might be generous, 194 pounds. But at the end of the day, this guy is a baller. And if he was 6'2", 6'3", 225, he would be the clear number one overall pick. And I don't know if it's all that close. This past season, 64.5% completion percentage. 3,328 yards. He did battle a few injuries. 32 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He was the Sugar Bowl MVP. I mean, when it matters the most, when the lights are on, he was still playing. There were a lot of people that told him, this game doesn't mean anything. You don't need to play in that one. In terms of Pro Bowl, or the bowl games. You see big-time players that have a chance to go 1, 2, hell, top 10. They end up sitting out. Bryce Young did not do that, and if I'm an NFL team, I love that. From a career standpoint, in his 27 starts with the Crimson Tide, he had a 65.8% completion percentage, 8,358 yards, 80 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. And the SEC, and basically any Power 5 school, very impressive numbers. In terms of where could he potentially go, you're going to find out that, guess what, when you're this good, it's going to be, if you want to get them, you got to get them early. I think the Carolina Panthers, the Houston Texans are the top 2 teams. Why? Carolina traded all the way up from 9 with the Chicago Bears to go up to 1. That tells you one thing. Then you got the Houston Texans. Then there's the Indianapolis Colts at 4. They always seem to be interested in quarterbacks. The Las Vegas Raiders, they moved on from Derek Carr. Sure, they have Jimmy Garoppolo, but there's been reports around there. And then the Atlanta Falcons, if they don't want Lamar Jackson, I get it. But I do think if some crazy world were to happen where Bryce Young falls because of his size, or if Atlanta's sitting there like, well, shit, he fell down to 3, let's trade up with the Arizona Cardinals. There's reports out there that Arizona is willing to trade back. All I'm saying is if you want Bryce Young, you're going to have to take him at 1 or 2. So what I want you to do right now is go down in the comments and predict, where is Bryce Young going to be playing football in 2023? Many people view him as the number 1 quarterback prospect. There's going to be some teams that knock him due to size. I want to know right now, where is Bryce Young going to be playing football this upcoming season? Bryce Young is going to be lacing up the cleats and putting on the shoulder pads. Where? In Houston. Yes, I believe he's going to be the starting quarterback this upcoming season for the Texans. To me, he's going to be the best quarterback on the board when Houston picks. And maybe that's a spoiler of where I think some other QBs might end up going in terms of Carolina. But the Texans, they have 12 picks overall in the draft. They also have the 2nd pick, and they have the number 12 pick. DeMeco Ryans got 6 years and needs a franchise quarterback. No disrespect to Davis Mills. It's not a franchise quarterback. And if I'm D'Amico Ryans, I'm going to look straight at Nick Caserio and say, this kid's good. I didn't come here to be good. Let's get Houston to great. And the only way you're going to get to great is if you take a young quarterback, and I believe that young man is Bryce Young, a young man who can really do the right things, because the last time they had a franchise quarterback in Houston, let's face it, he messed up. The guy who I am most confident in not messing up, his name is Bryce Young. If you want more NFL content, I don't want you to miss out. Subscribe for the best NFL news, rumors, all that good stuff here. You can click the big old red button that says subscribe, or you can turn on those notifications down below. C.J. Stroud, quarterback of Ohio State, where is he going to be playing football this upcoming season? If you want to talk about all the tools, what it takes to be a great QB from a physical standpoint, he's got it. He's got the strong arm. He has really good ability to, I think, diagnose a play. He has a cannon, and I mean a cannon for the arm that all NFL teams look at. Height, size. He can run even though he doesn't run all that much. I was a little bit shocked to see Lance Zierlein's NFL comp as Jared Goff, but then again, Jared Goff did go number 1 overall in the NFL draft. The only thing that I see when I look at tape for the Buckeye QB is when the pocket collapses, he struggles. And he was luckily enough to be on Ohio State's offense filled with extremely talented wide receivers, filled with an extremely talented offensive line. And I am curious to see how he does up against NFL teams because, well, he's not going to have the pocket that he did with the Buckeyes. In 2022, 66.3% completion percentage, 3,688 yards, 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. This kid, man, I was a little bit worried about some of the tape because his games against Rutgers was bad. His game against Northwestern, really bad. But if he plays the way that he did against Georgia, against that defense, you're looking at somebody who should probably go number 1 overall. Speaking of number 1, I do think that the Carolina Panthers are obviously interested. There has been a lot of rumors around what they could do, and when you trade up from 9 all the way up to number 1, you're probably going to be looking at a QB, right? You got the Houston Texans at 2. Could they go for that big, strong arm quarterback? Definitely something to think about. Indianapolis Colts, they always, and I mean, this has been a team that's built on the back of big, strong, armed QBs. The Las Vegas Raiders, I know Dave Ziegler, big fan of Stroud. The question is, does he fall to 7? I don't think he does. If you're the Raiders or if you're Atlanta and you want this guy, you got to trade up. And if he somehow is still on the board at 3, that's where I see a possibility of these teams right here trading up to get him. So where is C.J. Stroud going to be playing football this upcoming season? He is a hell of a prospect, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are worried about Ohio State QBs, and when you judge the helmet, I do think it can end up biting you in the butt. But when you look at a lot of the quarterbacks from Ohio State, they have struggled in the NFL. So where is C.J. going to be playing football this upcoming season? Guess what? I got him being the number 1 overall pick to the Carolina Panthers. Right now, Stroud is the favorite to go number 1 overall per Vegas, and you can talk about insiders what you want. I do always think Vegas knows something. Josh McCown also, at C.J. Stroud's pro day, looked at him and said, maybe when you live in Charlotte, we'll find a court. They were talking, I believe, about like tennis or basketball. I don't remember what it was. But all I know is this. Your quarterback coach looked at him dead in the eyes and said, maybe when you live in Charlotte. It sounds like to me they already have their eyes on a guy. And when you trade up, as much as what they did here when the Bears traded the number 1 overall pick, if you trade up to 1, you got a guy in mind. If you trade up to 1 and you're like, anybody's possible, you're just a dumb organization. And I don't think Carolina did that. You give up this much draft capital, you got a guy in mind. And I think that guy that they have in mind is C.J. Stroud. When you look at the numbers over the past 2 seasons, in 2021 compared to 2022, sure, the completion percentage is higher. The passing yards are higher. But overall, I want a quarterback who I believe can get better and has that true athletic upside, has the arm, has the accuracy, and from that standpoint, he has all of those things. Is he going to struggle in year 1 in Carolina's offense? Sure, maybe. But then also, if I'm the Carolina Panthers, I'm looking at what the Bengals have done. The Bengals had the number 1 overall pick. They took Joe Burrow, and now they are one of the best teams in the NFL. Their Super Bowl windows every single year. So if you believe that C.J. Stroud can be that guy, I think you got to take him. I also think that Carolina has shown that they're not afraid to be aggressive. So C.J. Stroud, to me, might have the best upside compared to floor out of all the quarterbacks in the draft, which is why I think he's going to go number 1 overall to the Carolina Panthers. If you love the NFL draft, then subscribe. And what I want people to do is not only get NFL draft rumors, NFL draft news, but I also want y'all to get content that you enjoy from people that see what you have to say. We go down in the comments. We see who watches all of our videos. So if you could, take a second, subscribe to our NFL draft channel right now at youtube.com/chatnfl. Where will Will Levis play football, the quarterback for Kentucky? You can make the argument that he might have the strongest arm in the 2023 NFL draft. And Lance Zierlein, by no surprise, comped him with Jay Cutler. There's going to be some people out there that comp him with Jay because of the arm strength and because of the I don't give an F attitude at times that he displays. But to me, Will Levis has the upside of somebody like a Josh Allen. When you look at the athletic traits, Josh Allen was also not very good coming out of Wyoming. Whoever ends up taking this young man needs to realize that he might not be ready to play in year 1. He might need a year to sit. And I do think if he's given a year to sit, he's going to have more success. With the Wildcats, he played in the pro-style passing scheme, which required full reads. And I like the idea when you come out of college and you've already been able to run a pro-style offense. To me, though, what teams run a pro-style offense? That could be a big contributor to who ends up taking him. Also, when you look at his numbers from last season, 65.4% completion percentage, 2,406 yards, 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. I do think, though, it's a tale of two tapes. And what do I mean by that? When he first started the season, he was 100% healthy. Then he ended up getting banged up a little bit, and the numbers, his production, his running ability went drastically down. He is a big, strong quarterback, and if you haven't seen the pictures of him on social media, dude's ripped. And I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback as ripped as this, but I also see somebody who's not afraid to put in the work. Sure, he's going to have mayo coffee. Sure, he's going to eat bananas with the peels on, and it's a little bit weird, but Will Levis definitely has a lot of upside. So in terms of which teams could potentially be interested in getting him, I have the Carolina Panthers at number 1, the Houston Texans with the 2nd overall pick. Could the Indianapolis Colts end up taking him at number 4? The Las Vegas Raiders actually have him on a visit on April 3rd. The Tennessee Titans, they are an aggressive team. I still think that they could be looking for a QB. Could they trade up to get him? And then the Washington Commanders, if you're sitting there in the NFC East, you're like, man, there's Dak, there's Daniel Jones, there's Jalen Hurts, and we got a guy named Sam Howell. So for all those reasons why I think Washington could end up taking him. So Will Levis, very interesting prospect, no doubt about it. Got extreme high upside, but the floor should scare the hell out of a lot of teams. So if I'm an organization, I'm going to be like, all right, I've had a lot of success in the past, which is why, well, where do you think Will Levis is going to be playing football in 2023? Because for all those reasons I just mentioned, I believe Will Levis ends up suiting up with the Indianapolis Colts. And the reasons why I say that is you go back and you look at the history of Indy. You go back and look at Chris Ballard. You go back and you look at Jim Irsay and a lot of the things that they've done well. They've built through the draft, and I think that that's what this team needs. And you've had Peyton Manning. I'd say he's pretty good. They drafted Andrew Luck. Yes, he retired early, but still a very successful quarterback. There's also reports swirling around that the Colts are interested in Will Levis, and to me, Will Levis is going to be the 3rd quarterback off the board. So whether Indy stays at 4 or they go up to get him at number 3, still a lot of questions remain. Levis, though, and his stats at Kentucky in 24 starts, he had 65.7% completion percentage, 5,232 yards, 43 touchdowns, and 23 interceptions. Also, if I'm the Indianapolis Colts, I'm going to be like, all right, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again. So the Colts starting quarterback since 2019, as you can see on screen, they tried to bring in veterans. They tried to trade for guys, and you're in the top 4 for a reason. It simply did not work out. So if you believe that you can get another strong-arm quarterback, I'm not saying he's going to be Andrew Luck, I'm not saying he's going to be Peyton Manning, but if you believe you have the right team to put the talent around him, and if you believe in a pro-style system, because that's what Indianapolis runs with running back Jonathan Taylor, I think all of those reasons why Will Levis ends up going to the Indianapolis Colts, whether that be at 4 or they trade up for him at number 3. Anthony Richardson, quarterback of Florida. Where is he going to be playing football this upcoming season? I'll tell you what, man. I've been doing this thing here at Chat Sports for many years, and from an athletic standpoint, I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback as athletic as Richardson. There's reasons why he's getting comps to Cam Newton. And he had an incredible draft combine. He had an incredible pro day. There are reports, though, that some teams don't think of him as a first-round talent, and that's probably just more because of the production that he had in this final year with Florida. And let's face it, when you're a quarterback potentially going in round one, you look at the numbers, 53.8 completion percentage, it's not great. 2,549 yards, 17 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. But the reason why he's going to get drafted where he does, he's 6'4", he's 232. He runs a faster 40 than Cam Newton, who I believe is probably one of the most dominating power run quarterbacks in the league, or ever was in the league, a former MVP. And if you believe that you can get another MVP caliber quarterback in Cam Newton, you just got to be patient with him. But the mechanics, they're bad. I do think he sees the field well, but the other thing that I don't think that Florida did a very good job with, it was like boom or bust every single time they threw the football. So for Richardson, where could he end up going? Some of the top destinations out there. The Carolina Panthers at number 1. There's a part of me that wonders where Carolina's like, all right, the greatest quarterback we've ever had for our organization was Cam Newton. Could they do it? Could they get ballsy? The Houston Texans, they want to be a tough run-first team, in my personal opinion. D'Amico Ryans seems like a tough guy. There's number 2. The Indianapolis Colts, run-first offense with Jonathan Taylor. Interesting. The Las Vegas Raiders right now have the highest odds to draft Richardson at plus 800. Tennessee Titans, that's a run-first team with Derrick Henry. Imagine trying to tackle Anthony Richardson and Derrick Henry. Yeah, good luck. And then there's the Washington Commanders, which their starting quarterback is Sam Howell. They're in a division loaded with Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Daniel Jones, and they need a quarterback in the most desperate way. So where is Anthony Richardson going to be playing football in 2023? I do think that he could go as high as the top 3. I also, if you were to ask me which quarterback do I think is the most likely to slide down the board, I will also say Richardson. So with that being said, I actually have him going to the Washington Commanders, and I believe that the Commanders end up trading up for Richardson. The Commanders need a quarterback in order to be able to compete in the NFC East, and I don't think that they want to finish, dead last again. Washington is at pick 16, so if you were to ask me, okay, Mitch, where do you think the trade ends up happening? Well, believe it or not, there are multiple reports out there that the Raiders are trying to trade out of the number 7 pick, whether that means they trade up or whether that means they end up trading down. But to me, let's just say the Raiders are putting up a smokescreen that they could take a quarterback. They already have Jimmy Garoppolo, the way that his contract is structured. He's going to be starting this year, and they might even want him for next year. So the Commanders look at the Raiders and they say, hey, this is our guy. We want him. If you look at the trade value chart, this is basically what it would end up costing. So the Raiders get a first-round pick this year and next year, and then the third-round pick in 2023. The Commanders, they jump up to 7. They take Anthony Richardson, and then they also get the Raiders' 5th-round pick. But Las Vegas does have 3 5th-round picks. With Sam Howell, though, I know that there were some people that liked him coming out of North Carolina. Washington drafted him in the 5th round, I believe. So for all those reasons, they don't have a lot invested in him. And I do think that the Commanders look at their team right now, and they're like, I want to be able to run the football. Riverboat Ron, he wants to be a physical team, and when Riverboat Ron was at his best, he had an athletic quarterback. Guess what his name was? It was Cam Newton. So if he feels like, okay, I can replicate this offense again, I do think Richardson is absolutely a player to keep in mind for Washington, and I do think a team could end up trading up because there are going to be teams that have him ranked way, way higher on their draft boards. So if you like upside, if you like a quarterback with insane athletic ability, a quarterback that does have the upside to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, but he also has that floor where, well, shit, he could be in the XFL in 3 years, then Anthony Richardson is your guy, and for all those reasons, I think he ends up going to the Washington Commanders. So let's wrap up today's show. I got Bryce Young getting drafted by the Houston Texans, C.J. Stroud, Carolina Panthers, Will Levis, you're going to Indy, Anthony Richardson, Commanders. If you made it this far in the video, I salute you. Don't be afraid to share this video on social media, places like Twitter, Facebook, IG. You can tag me. You can tag Chat Sports. We greatly appreciate you, and hopefully you tune into our 2023 NFL Draft coverage.